A story by Excess Joy. The Dead Girl in Emerald Wing. St. Teresa's College, 2015. Cynthia had been watching from the shadows for days. She had seen Stella walk into the hostel with her luggage, excited about the fresh start. She had been there when Stella walked up to the porter's lodge, had seen her fill out her forms, and had noticed the young girl's hope and anticipation. But Cynthia, who had been lingering for years in Emerald Wing Room 36, wasn't so interested in new beginnings. She only wanted to feed off the new energy, to hold onto whatever little spark of life still remained in her. Cynthia overheard the porter telling Stella to head forward to Emerald Wing. Room 38, 39, and Room 40 were vacant, and she was free to make her choice. The porter never mentioned Room 36. As soon as Stella started dragging her luggage towards Emerald Wing, Cynthia transformed. The shift was subtle at first, like a ripple in the air. Her form shimmered, the faintest glow surrounding her body, as if the very essence of her existence was coming into focus. Her room, too, changed with her. The darkness that usually clung to the walls of Emerald Wing Room 36 began to dissipate. The bed, which had once been a decaying relic, straightened itself out. The bed linens, once covered in grime, smoothed out, and the cold, damp smell of decay turned into something more neutral, almost inviting. Cynthia's eyes glistened as she worked, her fingers brushing over the surface of the furniture, reassembling the room to make it look as though it had never been touched by the hands of the dead. Every detail was meticulously restored to normality, until, finally, Emerald Wing Room 36 looked like an ordinary, welcoming place again. She knew this would be enough to lure Stella in, to trick her into thinking the room was safe. Then Stella stepped into Emerald Wing Room 36 with fresh eyes. The room looked just like any other student room. The bed was made. The shelves were neatly arranged. The air felt lighter, almost like the weight of history had been lifted. It was exactly what Stella needed after a long, stressful day. "Hello. My name is Stella, your new roommate," she said, flashing a smile. Cynthia didn't respond. She simply nodded in acknowledgement, her gaze fixed on the wall. Stella brushed it off, thinking she was just shy. But the longer she stayed in the room, the more disturbing things became. The days passed, but Cynthia never left the room. She didn't attend any classes, never interacted with other students. Stella began to feel like she was living with a ghost. One night, as Stella was reading in bed, she heard Cynthia's voice. It wasn't the sound of a person speaking. No, it was something far more chilling. A low, guttural murmur, like someone talking in their sleep, but the words were clear. They were unsettling. "I didn't mean to fall. I'm sorry. Please forgive me." The rope was too tight. Stella froze. She had heard this before. Cynthia spoke in her sleep almost every night, whispering strange, haunting phrases that made Stella's skin crawl. But this night felt different. The words felt too real, too alive. It was as though Cynthia was speaking from some other place, somewhere far beyond her bed. Stella couldn't ignore it anymore. She got up, hesitating for a moment, and placed her hand on Cynthia's arm to wake her. The moment her skin made contact with Cynthia's, a shockwave ran through her body. Cynthia's skin was ice cold, like the touch of something long dead. Stella recoiled, heart hammering in her chest. "Cynthia," she whispered, panic rising in her throat. "Are you okay?" Cynthia didn't answer. She simply turned her head slowly, locking eyes with Stella. Her gaze was vacant, almost hollow. "Death doesn't catch a cold," she said, her voice soft and eerie. Stella's breath hitched, a lump forming in her throat. She backed away, her body trembling. Something was terribly wrong. The next day, Stella got dressed up and left for lectures. She returned to the room to find Cynthia gone. She hadn't left a note, hadn't said a word. The bed was empty, the room silent. It was the first time since they had moved in together that Stella felt any relief. Cynthia was gone. Stella spent the next few days in peace. The constant feeling of dread lifted, and she allowed herself to breathe. But then, she did something she would regret. She tweeted. "Finally, My creepy roommate Cynththia Bernard is gone. Emerald Wing Room 36 is now peaceful. #St Teresa College. She thought nothing of it. A casual joke. But as the hours passed, her phone buzzed with notifications. One reply in particular made her heart stop. Cynththia? I once had a roommate named Cynththia Bernard. She hanged herself in room 36 at Emerald Wing, St. Teresa's College. 10 years ago. Stella froze. Emerald Wing room 36. That was the same room. Her room. She immediately asked the person for a picture. Maybe it was a coincidence. The reply came quickly, and when Stella opened the photo, her hands shook violently. It was Cynththia. The same pale face. The same vacant eyes. The photo was dated 2015. Stella couldn't breathe. It was impossible. Cynththia had been dead for years. But somehow, she had been living with Stella all this time. Cynththia never meant for things to end like this. It all started when she had confronted a senior student who had taken the rope she used to spread her clothes outside. It was a simple disagreement, but it had quickly escalated. The senior student, along with her friends, began bullying Cynththia relentlessly. They mocked her, called her names, and belittled her in front of others. The bullying was constant, wearing her down until she could no longer cope. The weight of the torment pushed Cynththia into a deep depression. She withdrew from everything, the laughter of others becoming a distant echo as she spiraled further into herself. In the end, the bullying took its toll. Alone in the silence of her room, Cynththia made a decision that would silence the torment forever. That night, Stella couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with what she had just discovered. She sat in her bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something, anything, to make sense of it. Then she heard it. It was faint, but it came from the door. Stella's heart skipped a beat. She sat frozen, her eyes wide with terror. "Stella," came the soft voice from the other side of the door. "It's me, Cynththia." Stella's breath caught in her throat. It couldn't be. It was impossible. But the voice was unmistakable. The knocking came again. Slower this time. "I forgot my rope," Stella screamed. She bolted out of bed, her body trembling with fear. She ran down the hallway, straight to the porter's lodge, her heart racing. She told them everything, about Cynththia, the strange happenings, the tweets. They didn't believe her. They thought she was imagining it. But they agreed to go with her to Emerald Wing Room 36. When they reached the room, the door was sealed shut with police tape. The porter looked at Stella with confusion, then at the door and said, "This room has been sealed for years. No one has lived here since 2015. They broke the door open. Inside, everything was coated with dust. The bed was in ruins. There were no signs of life. But on the wall, scratched in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "Stella, you shouldn't have tweeted." Stella collapsed, her knees buckling beneath her. She was moved to a different room that night. But even after all the horror, the nightmares didn't stop. Later that evening, Stella received a message on WhatsApp. It was from an unknown number. "Next time, knock before tweeting." What would you do if you found out your roommate wasn't alive? This unsettling tale of Cynththia and Stella is a chilling reminder that sometimes, the past refuses to stay buried. What would you have done differently if you were in Stella's shoes? Have you ever had a strange encounter that made you question reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and be part of the community preserving and reimagining African folktales.